This podcast is produced by Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency. The Collective Us, an NMCAA podcast, focuses on inspiring you through stories of those we've helped through our programming or by linking local resources to community members in need. Join us as we learn about the programs offered through NMCAA and how we touch people's lives every day. Welcome back to The Collective Us. Thanks for joining us for part 2 of this special episode. I'm Erica Austin.
And I'm Ryan Buck. We have had, I think, some really awesome discussion about success in 2023, things to look forward to in 2024. And joining us back in the studio for part 2 of this deep data dive is Executive Director of NMCAA, Kerry Baughman. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Still doing well? Still hanging with us on this journey?
Thanks for having me back for part 2.
Well, part 1 was awesome. Can't wait to hear more in part 2.
Thanks again for being here, Kerry. Before we continue too much further, if you haven't listened to part 1 of NMCAA by the Numbers, please go back and take a listen to episode 19. National Poverty in America Awareness Month takes place in January, and poverty continues to be an issue facing thousands of people in the United States every day. NMCAA works to bridge the gap between poverty and empowered independence. You can help end poverty in America by donating and or spreading awareness. You can donate to Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency at nmcaa.net or by calling 231-947-3780 for more information. You can also help spread awareness by sharing this podcast or any of our social media posts.
Thank you for sharing and listening, everybody. In part 1, we talked about child and family development and financial management services. So let's now turn to issues regarding housing. There's a topic that's come up a few times.
Yes.
And starting with housing and energy efficiency services, which is just a wonderful program. And we have some incredible stats here. And this is for 2023. 112 households in the region received either weatherization or home repair, 33 of which had children under the age of 18 living in the home, 39 households had disabled individuals, and 62 households were elderly occupied. So that's a lot of our neighbors and our community members who may be needing additional help and have some additional pressures. So how do these services in general help NMCAA combat poverty in Northwest Michigan?
Mm-hmm. When we talk about housing, it's such a top of mind topic for everybody right now in trying to increase the housing stock and create more affordable housing options. But a piece of that larger housing puzzle is the current stock. And so many homeowners are just trying to get by. And so when a major repair happens, oftentimes they're not able to find the finances to deal with it. And so it can lead to additional repairs and then, sort of the snowball effect. So, this is really a critical program in keeping people healthy and safe in their homes, in helping, elderly individuals stay in their homes and be safe, and in creating healthy atmospheres for children to grow up in. And so, you just indicated that, we served 112 households through these programs last year, and we're hoping and planning on expanding that number in fiscal year 2024. And one thing I want to mention too is that if you're interested, make a call to our intake for our Housing and Energy Efficiency Services Department, and then we're able to kind of have a conversation, find out what your needs are, and then figure out how to wrap the programs around the needs of the home. So it's not really, I'm thinking about this program, it's your home that's at the center, and then we're figuring out what can we bring to the table to help make your home healthier and safer? Something that people don't know is that we can provide weatherization on mobile homes. So one of the houses that we weatherized last year was in Roscommon County. And during the process of weatherizing this mobile home, a roof issue developed. So when we started the process, it's, sometimes it takes months. There was not an issue, and then a leak became apparent. So in the course of weatherizing the mobile home, we were able to replace the roof as that presented itself. And the home itself had some large holes in the floor that were a hazard. And some of the family members had fallen in them and gotten hurt. And so we were able to repair that too. So we came in to weatherize the home, make it warmer, but in the process, we're able to do multiple things and make that home a safer, healthier home. So that's just an example, but I wanted to bring that to the forefront because, you can be a renter, you can be a homeowner. We work with mobile homes, so don't hesitate to think, oh, I don't qualify for these programs or my home, I'm a renter and I can't take advantage of them.
Yeah. And it again brings up a consistent theme of customization. And personalization to the family, to the situation. And we've talked about it on the show before, weatherization, home repair. These are things that are not exclusive to wintertime. You can have weatherization needs in the summer. People with respiratory illness, summer can be tough. People get sick and lose their lives, unfortunately, year round due to things like that. So NMCAA is able to help at all times. And we also have a wonderful testimonial, if I may. When you talk about being able to own a home and then something happening when you're just making the mortgage or the rent. Maria D shared with us, our family could never have afforded the new septic system on our own. Really not sure how we would have managed much longer, even with limiting showers and doing laundry at my parents' house. We're so grateful. Keep doing what you're doing to assist people. And that's a couple of things. Septic.
Yeah.
Anybody sees septic and you know what that means.
Yeah.
And then your shower.
Yeah.
And then that's how does that affect everything? And they were lucky to have parents where they could, do laundry there.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the first episode, we talked a little bit about our role, and part of our role is advocacy. And so funding for septic and well repairs is something that we are going to Lansing. We're talking about because that is a need that we have in our community. And urban communities, you're not going to find that same level of need. But here we have to say, when we're thinking about ensuring that all families and households have safe water, and we're looking at water programming, we need to put dollars towards septic and well repair because that's where the need is in rural areas like northern Michigan.
Yeah. As you were talking at the beginning, Kerry, of this topic, I was thinking about, you mentioned how one thing led to another, and I kind of, within the department itself, it kind of had those wraparound services that we talk about all the time. Normally we talk about them more as like an agency, like, you go from one program to another, but this was all within that one program. And I think that's really kind of a cool thing. They're not just being like, well, sorry, you have a roof problem.
Yeah.
Now you went through our weatherization, we're here to help people, which is great.
I'm the son of a roofer. I know that's expensive stuff.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And when somebody can just feel like somebody has me, I'm taken care of.
Yeah.
That can just be the weight. And then you can deal with what comes along, but
Right.
just knowing that NMCAA has you top to bottom.
We had a testimonial, and it may have been on one of the earlier podcasts about the He's department, but it was a family that had roof needs for a long time and serious roof needs. And so the first time it rained and the rain didn't come in their home, and the mom said her and her son could actually enjoy the rain and not be sad
Yeah.
because their house was getting wet in the interior. And so she wrote us a note thanking us for that. And it's those kind of things that really make a difference when you think about, the question that you asked about improving quality of life, self-sufficiency. Those are all key things. And that's part of how programs like weatherization and home rehab support our mission in the community.
Wow, as you were talking, I'm like in my own head thinking about like the feelings that they must have felt finally able to enjoy like the sound of the rain.
Yeah.
To hear that
Rain's
initial
not the enemy.
reaction, like the
And
trigger
instead of the
reaction, and
anxiety of, oh my gosh, our
Right.
house is going to get ruined. And it's just like, wow, the mental effect that could take on somebody of having to deal with those problems and us being able to help with that is just incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. So if you don't have anything else to add to our housing.
And we have
energy-
another topic.
Yes,
That's,
again with housing,
yeah.
but moving from home repair to homelessness. In 2023, NMCAA's homeless prevention programs utilized over $5 million in state and federal funding to assist our clients. Kerry, can you tell us what types of services this funding is used for?
Yeah, we are a partner in the fight to end homelessness. And so we work in tandem, and our role really is we do some key pieces of the larger system work. We do coordinated entry. So that's the call center that fields calls. So if people are about to fall into homelessness or experiencing, that's their first point of contact. And then we can work with the other programs that we offer, rapid rehousing, diversion, to figure out if there are options so the individual can avoid falling into being unsheltered or we can use some of our funding to provide temporary housing and support with case management. So we have a housing first model, which means that our first priority is to get people stabilized in a home. And then once we do that, we have case managers that can address other issues that might be barriers or concerns. But as a housing first, that's our number one priority. And so our funds are used to support the whole system process through those and other programming that we offer. And we also provide similar supports for veterans through our supportive services for veterans programs, which serves 23 counties. So we, generally have a geography of service that's the 10 county region, but some programs like SSVF extend over 23 counties. So we have folks all over northern Michigan working to support veterans to be housed and be stabilized and have the supports they need in their homes.
You mentioned the call center intake number. I have that right here. I just wanted to make sure we share that. It's 1-844-900-0500. If you are in need of that, please call that if you're in crisis, I guess.
Yes.
Also, I just wanted to grab some more of these numbers in terms of our homeless prevention department. So 416 households were provided with prevention and rapid rehousing financial assistance. 217 households avoided eviction. 133 households obtained safe and affordable housing. And 313 households were in our street outreach and diversion programs. So those are huge numbers.
Yeah, and that's not just one person per household. If you think about how many people that affects, that's many, many more throughout.
Yeah. And if I could, I think, again, going back to those testimonials really bring life to those numbers. And one of the programs that we implement is called the Youth Homeless Demonstration Project. And it's serving individuals who are 24 and under. And this is a testimonial from fiscal year 23 from one of the individuals that was a part of the program. And he successfully bought his own home, and he's going to be exiting from our program. But he said, I'm a homeowner and I bought my own car. I went from homelessness to homeowner in a little under 2 years. I've got a good job and plan on finishing school by the end of the summer and start at NMC in the fall. To get to this point took so much time and stress, and it's not even close to the end of it. I'm just starting, and I can see myself achieving great things in the near future. In the last couple of months, she told her mom that she would make her proud and achieve stuff thought impossible by someone like her. And she said she's starting to believe that herself. So she thanks everyone who believed in her and said, I'll make it up to everyone by taking your blessings and doing something with them. So that was a hard one to read.
Yeah. Wow.
But a beautiful one to know exists.
Yeah. And it was, because it was so beautiful. It was.
Yeah. There was another client success story in 2023 with a Missaukee County client. And speaking of time, and I mean, I know when you're in crisis, you're in need, you tend not to be picky, but you don't want things to take forever. And there was a Missaukee client who had 2 children under the age of 4 who were experiencing homelessness, and they were successfully housed within 45 days of entering the program, which is wonderful. And that's not everyone, of course, but just knowing that there's urgency and we've got you.
Right.
A lot of the work, all the work that NMCAA does is important, helping people with basic needs. The emergency food programs, if we can shift a little bit, those are incredibly important. And under this department, we have a couple of my favorite acronyms. We have the Emergency Food Assistance Program, or TFAP, we've talked about that before, and the Commodity Supplemental Food Program, or CSFP, and Meals on Wheels.
Yep.
So let's break this down. CSFP provided over 948,000 pounds of food to our community throughout 2023, while TFAP provided over 606,000 pounds of food to our community within the 10-county service region of NMCAA. So hearing those stats, and I know we've been stat heavy, so if you need a moment to breathe, I get it, but I'm guessing not. How does hearing these numbers make you feel about this important work NMCAA is doing in our community?
I love the food programs for so many reasons. I mean, you read the number of pounds distributed. That's just amazing. And when you think about the delivery of the food boxes for the Commodity Supplemental Food Program, we did almost 24,000 deliveries of food boxes. For the Emergency Food Assistance Program, almost 15,000. So number one, the convenience of the programs allowing people to drive up, greet us, they know us. We put the food in their trunk and they can drive off. It's easy if it's an elderly person. You don't have to get out of your car. So we want to make it as easy as possible. And we do that by coming to all of our communities. If you look on our website, we have a distribution schedule for both programs, and you can find out a little bit more about who qualifies and then where the drop-offs are for distribution. We work with local food pantries very closely in distributing. We distribute in parking lots of churches. So you can see sort of the geography that we cover and that we're in your community. The other thing I love about this program, not only the provision of the food that's offered, but it really is a distribution network that we have internally. So, when we were looking at distributing things during the pandemic, how do we get things to people that need them? These avenues and this web of distribution was one way we could immediately get things to the ground in communities. So we can use that for information. We can use that for things offered through other programs. So not only is it a food program, but it's a network of distribution so that we can reach into communities and provide things that are needed.
And I just wanted to mention, if you want to know more about TFAP or CSFP, episode 10 of The Collective Us is all about those programs. So you can check back and you'll hear us talking with Chuck Friedel and Mark Lux about those programs and how all the work that they do to get those out. And again, they mention where you can find our distribution on our website. So
yeah. And again, two super passionate people and great stories there as well. And when you think about something like how important food is, it feels like because of how well positioned you are and how community based you are, you went into that challenging time ahead of the curve and were able to expand on this network, as you said, to provide service and maybe have less disruption. Did you innovate during that time? Did you find some of the programs got a little lift because of that shift at all, or any additional awareness to them?
So during that time, one of the things that we did, we created hygiene kits. So there were things that were needed. People couldn't get to the store. People couldn't get the things they needed. So we had some funding to create hygiene kits, to create, at the time we're buying every cleaning supply possible. And so we had cleaning kits too, so people could stay safe. And so we utilized these networks to be able to get those on the ground to people. You think about, okay, sometimes the issue isn't the funding, it's the means to get what people need. And the in-between piece. And I think something about community action across the nation is that we are so grounded in community. We are on the ground with everything that we do. So when it comes time to address a situation that has come up, such as we were experiencing a few years ago, we have that middle infrastructure to get the funding and the items that are needed to the people that need them in the communities. So yeah, I love that program. And the other reason I love it so much is it's a great opportunity to give back and volunteer. We have a warehouse in Cadillac where all the boxes that we distribute have to be packed. So we have assembly lines of volunteers at all times putting together these food boxes for distribution. Like you say, if you listen to the podcast, it's a fun crew down there. So it's a good time and you can give back to the community.
Yeah, that's on our list of things to do.
I'm remembering now that part of the wellness, sometimes that was their check-in with some of what they called them, their guests, to make sure that everything was good. And there's always that constant, oh, I'm glad I saw this person at their pickup today. And
yeah. In the last year, we had about 55,000 hours of volunteer services. And a lot of that was tax program. A lot of that were our drivers and Meals on Wheels. And then a lot of that were those folks that were coming to the warehouse to put together food boxes. So we depend on the help of the community.
So if you're interested in volunteering, again, you can go to nmcaa.net or you can call us. Kerry, what's the number again?
It's 231-947-3780.
Thank you. So let's move towards Meals on Wheels. It's one of our well-known programs.
No acronym there.
Well,
we talked about it before.
No acronym.
Nope.
It's a nice short one. Internally, I jot it down as MOW.
Well, yeah, I think that's what we talked about before. It's too confusing that way.
Anyway, this program does only service 4 of our 10 counties, so it includes Grand Traverse, Leelanau, Missaukee, and Wexford. The Meals on Wheels program aims to improve the health and quality of life of our homebound seniors by delivering vital nutrition, compassionate visits, and safety checks so seniors can live nourished lives with independence. Meals on Wheels delivered over 163,800 meals to 1,116 homebound seniors in 2023.
But Meals on Wheels isn't just home delivered meals. They also provide meals at senior congregate sites. So these are places where you deliver that people can go gather. So over 23,050 meals served and nearly 800 active seniors participating in 2023.
So huge numbers again.
Yeah. And it's customization. We'll come to you. You've heard Kerry say it.
Yeah.
And again, it's not, eternally flexible for everybody. But that we've got you and we will meet you where you need to be.
And the Meals on Wheels program has so many wonderful stories. And again, I want to keep referencing back to some of these episodes because we've had Lisa Robachek on, and she is our manager of the Meals on Wheels program. And she has so many great stories she shared with us. There's actually 2 episodes I want to reference. Episode 2 is Older Americans Month. And then also episode 8 was National Senior Citizens Day. We've had Lisa on for both of those, and they're both fantastic episodes.
Yeah. The driver who became a guest of the program was
my
yes. favorite moment.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so, like I said, we have colleagues who work with Meals on Wheels, and we know they do incredible work. Kerry, do you know any of these heartwarming stories that we're referring to? Can you share any of them with us?
Yeah, there's so many. Again, highlighting the importance of the fact that this is relationship-based, and our drivers, when they deliver the meals, and I know Lisa said this in her podcast, I'm sure, you're doing a health check. You're making sure everything is okay with that individual. They know you're coming, so they have someone, that if there's a need or there's a concern, they know that someone's going to be at their door the next day. Mm-hmm. So that's such a critical part. But, a lot of it, too, it goes back to housing. We talked about the housing issue and, how do you stay in your home as long as you want to be in your home? And many people want to, age in place. And so Meals on Wheels is a key component of aging in place. And so we had earlier in the fiscal year 23, we had a couple, Opal and Wesley, and they moved from an assisted living situation to a condo because it was, as you can guess, very costly to live where they were living. And once they moved back, they were concerned with being able to age in place. And so Meals on Wheels was a critical component. Opal said that she no longer can cook, but she can warm things up. So she knows she's got nutritious meals that she can manage and warm up for her and her husband. And so she says it gives her peace of mind. And her daughter is very thankful for the support for her parents.
And Opal's heating up meals in their own place.
Right.
That's the key difference maker there.
Right. And then I think about, I don't know in this circumstance if this is something that's a need, but our relationship could lead to our home rehab dollars, putting in ramps or helping with a home repair, again, to help them be comfortable and age in place and be safe and healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know Lisa has mentioned when she's been on the podcast before about, during the pandemic is when they switched from fresh meals to freezer meals. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just such a innovative thing, allowing them to have those meals when they want them. And hearing that, Opal is saying, I warm them up when we're hungry is so amazing.
And their kids don't have to worry.
Yeah, they don't have to worry
about something basic like, are they eating or are they eating healthy? Kerry, you said healthy meals, and we've talked on other episodes about the care that goes into that, which is, I think, really fascinating. So definitely give that a listen. But again, those wellness checks, they don't just drop off the meal. They look around, they see what the situation is, and they make friends.
Yeah. Right.
Whether they want to or not. I think sometimes is where we're going to be friends no matter whatever happened. And that's really beautiful.
And that all the research that shows the importance of that connection and socialization, like how critical it is. Nutritious food is critical to health, and human connection is critical to health. And so this program provides both of those things. Lisa will always say food is medicine.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we've heard that.
Yes, we have.
So I just want to take a moment to thank a few people and departments who are typically behind the scenes at NMCAA that don't get a lot of recognition on our show. So first, I'd like to thank our business office for keeping us all in check and paying all the bills and literally keeping our lights on. So thank you, business office. Our HR department, helping us with all the things we need to do for onboarding, benefits, the list goes on. Our IT department, keeping all of our locations online, systems updated, and with all the other things that they manage. They do a wonderful job with that. Of course, administration, Kerry, yourself, Kim, and the rest of our directors doing a great job at getting communication out to the employees as they need them and just really taking care of us. And lastly, I want to thank our board members also for showing up and taking interest. They truly help shape NMCAA and allow us to do the work that we love to do. So I just want to take a minute and shout them all out because they probably won't get us a great opportunity to shine on this podcast.
Well, like I said, it may get to the point where you have people knocking down your door like, hey, hopefully. But those, and I will say, if I may add some sincere thanks, anytime I'm in the office or around, everybody is so kind and always welcoming. There's somebody who works with you that I used to work with. I think you know that.
Yep.
So being able to say hello to a friend is amazing. And all those things do the business, the HR have to keep a business going because it takes so much and so many resources to get all that done.
And to do all the amazing things that our employees do, you know, the ones that are coming in here and sharing the stories and on the ground, you know, they get a chance to share those things. And so I just want to make sure that everyone gets to see those other people who are behind the scenes as well. So, let's see. If we go back to episode 18, which was my episode of marketing and community engagement.
It was a good one. Good guest on that.
Thank you for hosting that, Ryan. I really appreciate that. You'll hear both myself and Melissa Finley Thompson hinting at our 50th year. Kerry, you've already mentioned our 50th year earlier. I think it was episode part 1.
Yeah.
And so we have some exciting things happening, but without giving away just too much, looking into the crystal ball and entering our 50th year, what are some of your goals for 2024? And how do we start NMCAA off on the right foot for our next 50 years?
Well, that is a good question. And I think that's really what we're talking about right now, what we're focusing on with our strategic plan and our getting prepared and thinking about not only a celebration of the last 50 years, but the next 50 years and being really excited about continuing to be relevant, continuing to have the impact that we have in the community over the next 50 years. And I think, you know, one of the key components of that is a priority is outreach. The first step is to make sure that people know we're here and to know they can reach out. You know, my own personal vision for the organization, and I hope that it's true currently, but I think we can even enhance that moving forward as a priority. You know, I want people to know that if they have a need, to call us. Just reach out and call us. We may not be able to address the need with any of the programs or services that we have, but we'll still be there and we'll still connect and we'll still support and we'll still work with you to try to find out what other resources exist to assist you along your journey. So that's the thing I want more than anything is people to know we're here. And so I'm so thankful for this opportunity in the podcast to reach more people. I'm so thankful for your role. And I was coming here today and I had a question that I wanted to ask you kind of connected to this.
Okay.
When we first started the podcast, so we're at like number 20, how many months ago? 6 months ago, maybe?
Yeah, back in May, I believe.
Yeah. I call it PT pre-twins.
Pre-twins.
Pre-twins. Okay. So at that point, I think maybe, Ryan, you had some familiarity with the organization, but not certainly at the level you do now after going through these 20 podcasts with us. So I'm interested from your perspective, like when we think about outreach and we think about becoming more well-known in the community, from your experience, what do you think we're doing well? What do you think we should consider in the next year as a priority?
Well, I think clarity in that messaging and in what you do, because I maybe said it off mic before, this podcast helps. Oh, they do this, they do this. It's that same thing with like, you could be Fleetwood Mac. You know what I mean? You hear that song and you're like, oh, that's them. So I think putting all these things together, people may know Meals on Wheels more than NMCAA. So generating that awareness of we can do this in a meaningful way. I think the podcast is a good way to do that. I think the events where you are strategically in a place where you can meaningfully connect with people, doesn't have to be paid. And I'd say meeting you. I was going to wrap up a little bit in this and saying spending time with you is wonderful. It's a gift. And I know that because of, you know, the pressures that you have and all that you have to do. It's a big organization, but you're very compelling. So it's similarly to somebody who inspires you. You're somebody who is really compelling. And a comment from you, I think, goes a long way, either in to volunteering and to like, oh, I'd follow her because she's there. So I think getting yourself there is helpful too.
Can I add to that? I think you're spot on, Ryan, because I get an opportunity, like, I think it's once a month that we typically meet. It's been a little while since we've done that just due to holidays, but I love that 1 hour that I get to spend with you and Kim and just talk about the things that I'm working on. And I feel so revitalized after that hour. I'm like, oh, good. They're excited about what I'm working on and they gave me more ideas and it's really refreshing. So you're hitting the nail on the head there, Ryan.
You're clearly doing what you're doing for a reason. And sometimes, yeah, I think the title matters. And when you meet somebody and in a small community, you don't always get to maybe meet an executive director, and that means something, and that word will spread.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I feel like I set you up here now, but I was just trying to garner some professional advice for free on podcast
absolutely.
from you. But
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And again, I'm really grateful for your guidance through this and, leading us down this road, because I think the podcast has been so well received and it's so awesome. When I play it, the first time I'm like, okay, here we go. And then I heard it and I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds great.
I said this multiple times on the show as well, and probably off air as well. I've learned so much sitting at this table from all of the employees. And there's so many times that somebody will walk in this room to record a podcast and I've never met them in person. And Ryan's always like, I'm so impressed that you just, you don't know who you're, but you just pick up and have a conversation with them about it. And it's so interesting to learn so many things. And I've said this, I don't know if I said this on the marketing episode, but in my role being the marketing manager, I have to know all the things about all the departments so that I can share that with the community, where somebody who walks in our HEAS department, housing and energy efficiency, they don't have to know anything about homeless prevention unless we, are making them listen to it. Like, hey, you need to know a little bit about what we do so that we can have those wraparound services that we talk about. So yeah, this has been like a crash course for me as well. And I'm so happy that you guys allow me to do this. It's such an honor to be able to be the spokesperson we kind of talked about in part one. And I just really feel grateful.
There's a lot of wonderful employees and people making NMCAA happen. And that's a critical message too. A lot of people look at nonprofits and don't think about an employee culture. They don't think about employees or a business, but that makes an organization compelling, that you're creating jobs for people as well. That's a big deal.
We have about 350 employees. And, I think articulating our core values of respect, accountability, acceptance, compassion, and cooperation. We know as an organization, we have to be able to provide those things for the people that work here, for them to provide it to the people that we're working with. And so we're striving to do our very best in that, to create that culture, because we know that without it, the kind of interactions that we want aren't possible. So so the core values.
An interesting aside from all that you do and have to do, and that could be laundry, that could be advocacy in Lansing, that could be matching deposits for down payments, you still have a company culture to lead and an internal thing to happen as well, which is amazing. Again, when you walk into the building, you're always welcomed. And if you know what it takes to make that happen, that's pretty amazing.
And just going back to sort of talking about poverty awareness and talking about our stats from the 2023 annual report, why that's so important. We have in the state of Michigan, we have about a 13.3% poverty rate. In the area that we serve, we have varying rates both above and below that. But sort of the myth I want to bust is the fact that some of the counties might not be at 13.3%. But that does not indicate that these services aren't important and that there isn't need. And if you've seen the Alice report, you know how many families in our area are living below the basic needs threshold. And so many of our programs, are able to serve a portion or all of that basic needs threshold as well. So we're supporting families who are struggling. And if you're struggling, you're struggling. And so that's just an important point I think that we need to make as a region advocating for dollars. I mean, we have a beautiful place to live, but the reality is there are things that we can do to improve the quality of life, to help alleviate suffering, and to help people become sustainable. And so all of those things make a beautiful, wonderful place to live that much better.
For all people.
For all people, capital letters. Yep.
Well, before we wrap things up today, can you remind our listeners who would like to find out more about NMCAA how and where they can do that?
Sure. Well, I'll start with our phone number, 231-947-3780, website, nmcaa.net. And then, Erica, you want to share our other social media?
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook, and Again, Instagram, Twitter, we are screening messages all the time. So send us a message there and we can certainly point you in the right direction there too.
And the website helps with donation, volunteering opportunities as well, correct?
Absolutely. You can find the donate page right there on the website, and also volunteering. We're always looking for volunteers like Kerry had mentioned. So yeah.
I was asking you that question rhetorically. I just realized.
Yeah, that's okay. So one more time, Kerry, we're going to ask you one more fun question.
Uh-oh.
So if you had one wish for NMCAA, what would it be and why?
If I had one wish for NMCAA, it would be that at some point in time, we're not needed anymore.
That's a great answer.
Yeah. There'll always be need, there'll always be circumstances, but that people need a boost or a leg up or just somebody come alongside. But for many of our programs, if we do what we're intending to do, then our goal is to put ourselves out of business.
Yeah. Wonderful answer. As terrible as it sounds, but
it
it
almost
is.
seems
Yeah.
counterintuitive, but it's wonderful.
Yeah, exactly.
Kerry, thank you so much again for joining us. I know there's a lot of stats, a lot of heavy questions, but you deliver, and it's wonderful to have you with us. Would you come back and see us again soon if we asked?
I would love to come back.
That would be awesome.
I would love
Thank
to
you.
come back because I forget how very fun this is to be here.
Well, we kind of have that on record, so it makes it. We, again, sincerely, in all honesty, appreciate you taking the time to be with us here today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And don't forget, we'd like to share your community stories regarding NMCAA. If you have a story you'd like to share about how NMCAA has impacted your life, send us an email at collectiveuspodcast@nmcaa.net.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, please hit the like, follow, or share button. It truly helps us continue to get the word out on all the good NMCAA does in the community.
And if you'd like to learn more about Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency or the programs we offer, or would like to make a donation, we encourage you to reach out at 231-947-3780 or visit our website, nmcaa.net. And to our listeners today, we encourage you to continue to strive each day to do something to help yourself or your neighbors.